is, this is great for learning other languages. Can we apply it to English? Because 80% of the students graduating can't speak English properly.
Right. And you're not talking about ESL kids?
No.
My view, okay, in our system, we put a lot of emphasis on counting the number of words you know. And my belief is that the more words you know in the sense of being able to recognize. People get all hung up about passive vocabulary, active vocabulary. Passive is good, because the big thing is to understand. And if you have a big passive vocabulary, eventually you start to use those words, if you have the opportunity to use them. I think our system has all kinds of application for English speakers to improve their own level of literacy.
So we can go beyond whatever?
Yeah, go beyond. I think so. But they got to be motivated. Like someone who's learning a foreign language is going to be motivated to learn that foreign language. Yeah, I would love to see our system, and used. But how do you convince someone that his English is not very good and that therefore he should be saving these words and phrases and trying to use these more, maybe a little more accurate or different words instead of just the same ones all the time? I think if you could get them motivated, then I think the system would do the job. Definitely. Yeah.
But your argument is that the system motivates.
Our system. I think we help keep you motivated, but it's not enough. Yeah, a lot of our learners are very motivated by all these little scores. And sometimes they have a little glitch, and they'll say, hey, how come this, and like instead of being 31,560 words, it's 31,532. So they watch it very carefully, but they're already motivated. Like there has to be that motivation, I want to learn this language, or I want to have a bigger vocabulary in English.
It's nothing to do with that, just want a bigger score, or higher score. I'm going to be critical.
Yeah. I think that Mark, you can chime in here. I mean, we can do all kinds of things, and we have other ideas as well about the score. It introduces something that is motivating, the score. But I still think you need that initial motivation to actually take the time to learn, to get used to it. Because actually, once you get into it, it is fun. But I don't think that if the person isn't initially motivated to do it, he's not going to.
Especially at the beginning.
Especially at the beginning.
First 2 weeks to build up the habit, of doing it, to get yourself to do it, to get that momentum up, to see some results, to see some change in the numbers.
See, the ideal thing for us at Link is if the system were actually in a classroom and were assigned. Because the number of people who are sufficiently motivated on their own to do this is very small. Okay? So, which is, from our perspective, fine, as long as there's millions of people seeing it. If we have a few thousand that are motivated and then do it, and we get people all the time telling us, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Even immigrants who said, I went to this government-sponsored language school for 14 months. Transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, I was so frustrated, didn't know what I was doing. I came to your site, and in 4 months I was speaking English, and this particular guy was an engineer immigrant from Venezuela, who then went on to community college, got his degree, and he's happy as can be. So some people get it, but it's a small number. But if in the classroom, say the teacher of history or social studies, whatever it's called, said, I want to see your score, because we have a thing called the activity index. Like we constantly track who's active and who isn't active. To me, certainly in language and in English, even if it's your own language, what's most important is how active are you. If you are active, you will improve. And so if you could assign, I want you to maintain an activity index on this thing of so much. You have to write this much. I want to see your vocabulary increase. If you assigned it, because then I think more people would do it. The number of people who do it on their own is small, I think, unfortunately. Yeah.
So, do I understand you correctly that you're saying you really don't have to worry about learning about grammar and grammatical construction in these languages? Or do you...
To my mind, the way grammar works, I gave you the extreme case, Stephen Krashen, and he's done all kinds of tests which show that correction doesn't help, grammar instruction doesn't help, if you give people enough reading to do, and if it's just always a little difficult for them, not too difficult, and of interest, that they'll improve better. That's what he says. And he's got research to back it up. I don't agree. That's not been my experience. My experience has been, and particularly with Russian, and one of the reasons why I studied Russian is because it has a very complicated grammar. And what I found was that when you get started, if you are met with grammar explanations at the beginning, you don't understand them, you can't remember them, you can't apply them. If you allow yourself to be exposed to the language, then at a later date, you can look at those grammar rules and they start to make sense. So I will always spend 80-90% of my time on content, listening and reading, and I will still go and review some of the grammar rules just to kind of help me notice stuff. So that then when I'm next listening and reading, oh yeah, right. Okay. And some of this stuff just takes time, you know. Cases in Russian, you understand the theory, but trying to remember what the ending is, and the endings are, you know, and it's just too difficult. So my advice is spend 80% of your time on content, but do nevertheless spend time reviewing grammar. But don't get hung up on grammar. And the other thing we always say is, you're going to get it wrong. Don't expect, because in this chapter they taught you the subjunctive, therefore you'll be able to do the subjunctive, because you won't. The subjunctive will kick in at some point, 6 months later, 12 months later, but maybe you'll have been made aware of it, or maybe not. And then you'll listen to a whole bunch more stuff, and then you'll read the rule again, and then you may be a little bit more aware of it, and over time, eventually, it starts to fall into place.
What do you know about the Rosetta Stone? Do you know?
Well, I have had it demonstrated to me. It's not how I would like to learn. First of all, in the early stages, it has pictures, and you sort of have multiple choice. Is this a car, a plane, a dog, or a monkey? And then, as it gets more advanced, it has these scenes, you know, like plays, and you're asked questions about them. I don't like to learn that way. It's not obvious to me that I'm interested in what they have to present to me in terms of this little skit. I don't like being asked questions. There's a famous quote by a Brazilian educator who said, "Nothing destroys the pleasure of reading quite as much as being asked comprehension questions, or being asked to analyze the text or answer questions," which is true. So I don't like Rosetta Stone. My son used it for Japanese. He didn't like it. Alex, who's fluent in Korea, has tried it. Now we're prejudiced. But the other advantage of, say, many of these other sites on the internet, including ours, is cost. Because you can try Link for free, and if you don't like it, you walk away. If you like it, you spend $10, and then the following month, if you don't like it, you walk away. Rosetta Stone is whatever.
The thing with Rosetta Stone is it's easy, like it's quite easy to you get some success, you feel good, you're getting stuff right, but you don't end up learning very much.
See, this is the other thing. Rosetta Stone will have X amount of words in there, or any of the other systems. This is all you get. But the language is limitless. The potential content is limitless. Yeah.
Point of clarification for some people, the Rosetta Stone is, you're talking about, it's an application as opposed to the clay tablet.
Right, exactly. Rosetta Stone is an application on your computer, although they are working to develop some kind of, or they have an online community as well. But it's a package that you buy that goes in your computer and upplots these pictures, and you answer questions. Sorry, I'll give this lady a chance.
Well, what are your thoughts on